are remote today. Lee's a little self-conscious because he feels short next to me. But
I can't go and point the whole.
There you go. We are bringing you industry update from a back room at a Maggiano's. But more than anything, we're excited to talk to you about what's going on. So let's jump into this and let's hit the numbers first. Let me get them up here. Well, I got too many windows open. All right, Fulton County. So if I scroll over here, Lee, right now we've got 574 active inventory, 99 active under contract, 199 pending. And if you look at these numbers, 574 seems like inventory is bouncing all over the place right now.
Yeah.
Of course, this was Thanksgiving week, but let's watch, see the other counties. Pending was 199, as I said, and closings were 293, which was a really healthy number compared to the previous weeks. So do we think that's interest rates?
I think people are getting back in the market. There's the push for the end of the year.
Yeah.
Interest rates dipping, definitely. And hopefully everyone's communicating the language. Now's a great time to get a deal.
Yeah. Let's check the other counties. So DeKalb. Run down here to the numbers. We've got 574 active inventory. Is this DeKalb? Oh, this is still Fulton. Hold on, let me get DeKalb up. All right, DeKalb has 322 active inventory, which is down from last week of 400, but up from Thanksgiving week of 238. So 400 looked like kind of the stable number in DeKalb. We're at 322, which is a little low, but active under contracts higher.
Slightly higher.
Slightly higher. Pendings at 122 and closings at 142, which I feel like the last 2 weeks in DeKalb, we've really closed out some real estate comparatively to before. So there's movement going on. Certainly
it's found back a level, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's come back to previous levels of 147, 161, 144. We're at 154, 142. I like those numbers. And then if we run out to Cobb, our third biggest county, and we scroll over
and over.
All right, we've got 299 on the active inventory. Certainly down from 375, but up from 183. It still looks like inventory is down, and everything I'm reading says inventory is going up, and I don't know that we're seeing that.
Well, we're still seeing a good number active under contract is remaining pretty flat, meaning people are still putting houses under at a faster rate.
Yep.
Same with the closed inventory. That's up again.
Yeah, so 189 on the closings.
The inventory is just not keeping up.
Yeah.
And it's going to be years in Atlanta before it does.
But nationwide, all the media is talking about how inventory is up.
But that's big picture, and then that's macro and micro.
Yeah. So I'm not sure it's a true statement to say inventory's up. Yet I like the closing numbers. I like the activity numbers in active under contract and pending, which could it be interest rates? Yes. Could it be we're coming off a lull around Thanksgiving holiday? Yes.
There is always that seasonal push.
Yeah.
End of the year is a deadline people try and hit.
So I think it's really interesting to pay attention to.
The coming soon numbers were up on DeKalb and on Cobb, and I believe in Fulton as well.
All right. So here's the dialogue I want you to get your head wrapped around. Get the best deal on real estate today and get the best rate tomorrow. And how do we tell that story? There's a really good article on the Atlanta Business Chronicle that comes from Adam Data, and it says, here's the best day to get a deal on a home in a turbulent housing market. And if you read this in here, Um, oh my gosh. Sorry, we're doing this.
We're working remotely.
We're working remotely today, guys. I apologize. Let me sign back in here. All right. In here on January 9th is when the buyers got the best deal on real estate.
Is that based on the closing date?
That based on closing on January 9th, they got the most discount off of the premium of what the AVM model said. So here's another way to look at it. Here's 2013 to 2022. So you can see the discounts on the right. They got a discount of 4% on January 9th. They got a discount of 5% on December 26th. Years ago, October 16th, December 24th, November, October during the pandemic, December 4th the year before, and then January 9th last year. Here's information, right? This says at this time of year, anybody looking to buy anything investment, whether it's stock or real estate, is always trying to buy at the bottom and sell at the top. What this article is showing us is this is when the bottom was in these prospective years. So I actually think, Lee, that this article tells us that basically right now is the bottom when you're going to get the best deal on a piece of property.
Well, and I think for residential buyers for themselves, the perception and the communication from the agents is that when we hit spring with slightly lower interest rates and competition builds, you're going to pay more.
You're going to pay
in a housing market where the prices are still going up.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the time. If people are out looking in the rain, cold, to buy houses, and if people are listed and letting people in their homes, they're all serious.
So if the dialogue is get the best deal today and the best rate in the future, I might take this article, and I thought about this as we were preparing. What would I do with this? I mean, not just it's information, but how do I turn this into some kind of business strategy? Why wouldn't I go on social media and say, hey, would you like to know what the best day to get the best deal on real estate was last year? And how about the best day to get the best deal on real estate over the last 10 years? If you're looking for the best possible price, call me, because it's really soon. Or I could even do a poll and create interaction and say, what do you think the best day to buy real estate is historically? Or what do you think the best day over the past 18 months was to buy real estate to get the best deal?
And then you could
create that interaction.
And then you can continue the conversation is in order to take advantage of that. What does that mean to you? And when should you be acting?
100%, because it's not the same day every year.
No.
But my thoughts are, if you're not aware, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, there is a little bit of sellers coming off their prices right now. So if anything, that tells me we're kind of at the bottom. We're kind of at that moment in time when you're going to get the best deal. And does that create motivation for people to go buy houses right now before the year's out? Because I'm going to guess if we look at this graph 12 months from now, 24 months from now, the best day is not going to be in January. I think it's going to show up sometime in December where they got the best deal. Really important information, one, to inform yourself, but I also think you got to figure out how to take this information, Lee, and use it as a business strategy to create movement with people in your sphere of influence.
Use it to light a flame under potential buyers and sellers.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Brett, I love this. I love this idea. When I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I send this message out when the bulk of this is saying October, September, November? There's a January or two in there, and I don't want people to think, oh geez, I missed it, rather than how do I get out of it?
I think you don't have to. I think you could explain that the best selling day or buying day each year is a variable, and as an expert realtor, guess when it is this year, or guess when the next best day to put a house under contract is. You can have the conversation that way. Cool. You could play around, cut and paste the information, throw it through Chat GPT with some prompts and see what you get as well. You might get a series to
Yeah.
hook people in.
You know, the thing about the October, I think September was, I got to count the 13, 14, 15, 16. That was 2016, that December 26th. But September 7th was 2017. And if you remember the market in 2017, we had great interest rates. The summer was really hot. So I actually think that summer created fatigue that caused the market to stall after school started, which was a typical trend that happened in real estate. But then 2018, 19, and 20, those are pandemic years. And if the market, even in a hot market, there's still a stall period. And I think October is when those markets stalled out a little bit. Because we were just tired of multiple offers. We were tired of that whole thing, and the buyers just got beat up and then re-engaged after it, right?
There's also the factor as COVID waned, people were able to get back together, so the seasonality did kick in, because there was always, in a normal market pre-COVID, there was always that break around the holidays. You'd get the end of school, you'd get Halloween, you'd get Thanksgiving, and you have little blips where things slow down.
Yeah.
And then it speeds up again. But there is always a rush at the end of the year, people wanting to be in by the Christmas holiday or by the new year.
But remember, people hire you for your advice and opinions. So your advice and opinion right now, or if somebody was hiring me, my advice and opinion is, we're at that moment in time right now. The market stalled a little bit, but it's about to light on fire with interest rates. And some of the sellers are a little frustrated. Their house hadn't sold and they're coming off their prices a little bit. But soon as January 15th hits, I don't think they're going to have that same feeling. So we've got a window of about right now, December 11th, probably till about January 9th, where this is that period of time, which would be the absolute time to get the best deal on real estate.
And for sellers, I actually had a conversation this morning with one. It's like, if we list it now, we'll get this under contract before the end of the year. So again, the mindset works both ways, buyers and sellers. But if we don't list before the holiday break, we'll wait until January 15th, knowing that we're going to get more activity, or
Absolutely.
projecting that.
So what exactly is the premium discount? What does that mean? That's the what is that a rate of?
Yeah, so let me see if I can find their definition of it in here. But the basically what it's saying is, you realize prices go up in the spring and summer and come down in the winter months. And where is their definition of it? All right, here we go. In comparison, those who buy a home in May pay a 14.4% premium above the automated valuation model, according to Adam, meaning whatever the home's worth at that moment in time, according to an AVM, like a Zestimate
or like the real AVM and FMLS.
Yeah. They're getting the houses less than that value by 5%, if that's what the premium discount is, where in May they're paying 14% over what that AVM says the house is worth. Does that make sense? The
difference between a competitive hot spring market and a winter market where there are fewer buyers out there and sellers are more motivated to get closed out.
Does that answer your question?
I think so. But if there was a period of time where it was 14.4% above, why isn't some of that negative? You know what I mean? Why does it always
we haven't had a negative market. Well, it's a discount means negative
off of the list.
Okay.
Off of the AVM.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry. All right. So then the question becomes, if we're buying the best deal today and we're going to get the best rate later, I still want a good rate today to create motivation. So one of the articles on Inman right now is, how low can they go? Mortgage rates back under 7% this week. That's a question mark. If I go to the website, Mortgage News Daily, I trust this website the most. and I click mortgage rates, and I click today's mortgage rates, it shows the 30-year fixed at 7.09. Well, so in theory, we're still over 7. Do you know people that have gotten a rate under 7? I do. But it's not the norm at the moment. Yet, I think we're going to see 6s on that. We saw it for a hot minute a week or so ago, but I think you're going to see it trend to be below 7 in the near future. I think you're going to see rates in the 6s in 2024, and I think you might see rates in the 5s in 2025. So these are going to be refinance opportunities, depending on the situation, right? But I want to talk to you about something else. There's a couple things in real estate that we've created stories around as an industry. One of which, for example, would be we like to close all our houses at the end of the month. Do you know why you like to close all your houses at the end of the month? It's probably because of a history of paying interest in government-backed loans over the years. Yet over the last couple of years, we didn't buy houses with government-backed loans, and we still closed them at the end of the month. So there's not like a tax advantage or anything along those sorts. It just is a history we've done as an industry.
There's the skip month on the
Yeah.
mortgage payment that helps cash flow. It's
Yeah.
not free money.
But here's where I want to go in this conversation. Over the last couple of years, most real estate was bought with cash or cash equivalent or some kind of conventional financing. Yet, what's the rate on the 30-year FHA right now? It's 6.4. That's a really good interest rate for somebody buying real estate. Do you know what the loan limit is in Atlanta? It's somewhere in the high 5s. So what percentage of our real estate is being purchased under the high 5s? Over half of it. So now my question is, why wouldn't we entertain FHA financing? And here's the question. One, not from a buyer's perspective, because if I looked at this and said, yeah, I would entertain an FHA loan, but the listing agents are used to telling sellers it's a disadvantage to accept an offer with a buyer that's getting an FHA loan. Now, why do we tell them that? Because of appraisal issues. Or if it's a house that needs an enormous amount of repair, the FHA appraiser will play a mandatory repair game. We get that.
The ability of the buyer to close the contract.
Yeah.
The perception is if you're using FHA, maybe you couldn't get a real mortgage.
Maybe, but that's not a true statement.
No, it's just a perception.
The question is, if I'm listing a house that's $400,000 or $500,000 and a buyer walks in the door and presents me an offer with an FHA loan, what is the conversation I'm having with my seller around that offer? And all I'm saying is we probably have dialogue that's outdated, or we have perceptions around that loan that's outdated. And as an industry, I mean, look at that, 0.6% difference. If somebody buys a house with an FHA loan versus a conventional, and I get it. Like everybody, your dialogue, your advice, opinion is what people pay you for. So I'm just challenging your thinking around if you're sitting as a listing agent and somebody brings a deal with an FHA loan, it might not be the FHA of yesteryear. It might just be a simple fact of that's a chunk difference in
the
interest
economics
rate.
work.
Does that make sense? I want to maybe hear some comments about this. If you had the listing and somebody brought an FHA loan, what are your thoughts? What are you telling your seller? You hadn't talked to him about it in years, I can tell you.
Well,
FHA.
hey, Brett. Hey, Brett, it's Ken. So I think obviously the original impression is that it's a weaker type of loan. I mean, that is, of course, the stigma that comes with FHA and VAs because typically they don't have an abundance of cash. So that's immediately, kind of the reaction. I think we need to kind of change our thinking now and dig into it a little bit further to understand a little bit more about the buyer before we kind of make that knee-jerk reaction. Right?
Yeah, I think we stereotype it a little bit,
But-
right?
Also,
Absolutely.
during COVID, it was less useful as a tool for buyers.
That's what I'm saying. We
Yeah.
haven't talked about it in a
Yeah,
few
it's-
years. Somebody else, what do you think?
Hey, Brett, this is Steven. So I mean, I usually always call the lender anyway, right, to do my homework for the seller. And if it's an FHA, I will always kind of ask, why are they using an FHA? Is it because the interest rate is a little bit lower, or do they actually need to use it? And when I get that information from that lender, it helps me have that different conversation with my seller and saying, hey, these are qualified buyers. They could have gotten a, conventional loan, but they would rather have the interest rate currently being offered by FHA loan. So, that's kind of the scenario that we're in. And I find having that conversation with my sellers helps them make the best decision based off, if there are any other offers on the table with different financing.
Yeah, so Stephen, flip that script. I'm the listing agent and you got a buyer that wants that rate on an FHA loan. What are you telling me when you present the offer?
I mean, I'm telling you, as a buyer's agent, if you're the listing agent, that basically this is what the lender told me, right? Super qualified buyer. They are only using this FHA for a better rate. So please make sure you're letting your seller know that. But otherwise, just trying to be as upfront about it as possible.
Yeah. I just think it's going to show up in our future, I think.
100%.
And this is all about trends and where the industry is going. A 0.6 of a point is a chunk to create motivation.
There's also the fact with the commission lawsuits and how that may impact the co-op fees being offered, that people will choose an FHA for a lower down payment.
Sure.
So that it frees up cash to pay
That's a
buyer
great
agency
point.
commission.
If they would have to put 5% on a conventional, they could put 3% on an FHA and pay 2% towards commission, right? If that was inside that conversation. All right. Sidebar. The government is trying to do a lot of rail expansion, trains. And I thought this was interesting because if you look at this map down here, wherever it went, I am already signed in, people. Sorry. I'm usually on my desktop and we're remote today. Okay, so right now we know there's trains that run through Amtrak through Atlanta from New York down to New Orleans. But the proposal is these blue dotted lines. So from Atlanta, they're proposing to do a train down to Savannah. They're proposing to do a train to Nashville that would in turn go out to Memphis. And there's also a proposed high-speed rail from Atlanta to Charlotte. Now, is this help or hurt, or is it neutral to our real estate industry? I think Atlanta, the more transportation options our city has, I think helps the real estate value of the city. And, if you were to buy a second home in Savannah, Hilton Head, Golden Isles, does that train support that? Because the airfare is not great, right? Or does there become a more business relationship between Atlanta and Charlotte if there's a high-speed rail going back and forth? I think it's something to pay attention to. This is something that has been talked about for a while under the current administration, and it looks to be they're actually pushing money towards rail expansion. And we're kind of at the center point of a lot of the dotted line expansion. So it's something to be aware of. It's on the proposal, right? next thing I wanted to make sure you were aware of is Kellum's Command AI update will now generate ad campaigns for users. So what's happening is AI is becoming more and more and more involved in our world. And what this says is, if I'm wanting to advertise a listing or do some kind of social media advertisement, the AI will write what's called the ad copy for me now. And what that means is, if you ever sat down to do some kind of social media anything and you stare at it and go, I don't know what to say. Well, in the past, you would leave that platform, go to Chat GPT or phone a friend or whatever. Now it's going to do it inside the platform for us. So it's just making it easier and easier for advertising reasons. Yet I got a different question. Should we be, well, let me make this statement. AI, I think, is going to be really big and take off accelerated in 2024, whether it's a chatbot, ad copy, all this stuff. Should we be scared of it?
Hey, Brett is Ken. I don't think we should be afraid of it. I think we should be cautious of it and not go into it blindly, because AI isn't there yet. You know, you can see like on the FMLS where it like provides these fantastic descriptions on the pictures that aren't really relevant many times.
Yep.
And not descriptions that you would choose. So I think we need to go into it with eyes wide open, but also cautious of like, don't be dependent upon it.
Yep. I will tell you a conversation last night. I was sitting with my wife and she follows this girl on social media. And she said, I'm pretty convinced this is not a real person. I said, well, then why are you following him? She said, I thought it was a real person, but there's no videos. It's just static images and they look the exact same in every photo. And I was like, maybe it isn't a real person. Like, that gets a little weird, right? Yet I do think there's some business usage.
It's a useful tool.
It's a useful tool.
I mean, you're right not to become dependent and reliant on it, because it can throw you down the wrong path. It can get you in trouble. But I've said to Brett before, a hammer is a really useful tool if you use it correctly. If you use it badly, it's going to hurt someone. So that's AI.
I've smashed my thumb before. All right. Here's what I want you to hear more than anything on this call. Get the best deal today, get the best rate in the future.
And Mortgage Banker Association prediction is low to mid sixes by end of this coming year and mid fives by the following year, 2025. So you can marry the house and date the rate.
Yep. Any last minute thoughts, questions, comments?
Thumbs up.
All right.
Thank you.
Start and end on time. Have a good one.